What's up, guys? Friday morning. Haven't been able to get in during the week. Had a car trouble, very expensive car trouble. But we're here now. I'm going to train really hard on legs again. Did legs on Monday, but this is the day where I do my hip hinging movements. So give the upper body a break. Little shoulder issues with my right shoulder. So gonna give it a rest and really pound in lower body work today. I'm gonna talk about sequencing of exercises and how to set things up for obviously growing your lower body. If you've been following my videos, you know on my hip hinge day, I really don't do any type of leg curl to start out. I start out with the hinge movement. And then that's supposed to take care of hamstrings, but what I will do today is that I want a lot of blood in there. I'll do a few sets of some leg curls do some sets of leg curls. Sorry, it's early and I've been up since 2. Or I will do the Nordic curl that is made by Legend Fitness from the West Side Barbell line. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna try to keep it heavy because in 2 sleeps we got legs again. So with that being said, let's get to work. Let's have fun and let's do the business of bodybuilding. Let's make big legs great again. All right, get moving. Okay, so starting off with hip hinges as per usual, as I did in my coaching up the Romanian deadlift video. I'm going to start off with an empty bar and just, again, seeing that it's really cold in Nebraska, just going ahead and really just trying to stretch out the hamstrings, get them good and warm before I get to the main work. Now, with that being said, that's probably not a progression that you want to start out with. You probably don't start feeling the muscle until you put some weight on the bar. So I recommend you put on some 10s or maybe a 25 before we start getting to the big boy plates. So did about 15, 20 reps here, just, again, getting the hamstrings good and warmed up for the work that's going to occur. Normally, I don't do 2 hamstring exercises within the same type of workout, meaning I don't do a hinge and I don't do a leg curl. But today I went ahead, sorry, that's my son who thinks he deserves everything. I went ahead and did a hinge and I also did a leg curl. So with that being said, is that something that you need to do? Let's get into sequencing of exercises a little bit. So when I think of putting together a leg day, the first thing I obviously want to start out with is I'm a John Meadows disciple somewhat. I start out with lying leg curls or seated leg curl to make sure that my hamstrings get good and ready. And then I'll go on to usually a glute movement. I'll get into that a little bit more as to why you don't see a glute movement. Then I'll go into my quadricep Pacific stuff, meaning some type of leg press, some type of hack squat. And I'm trying to reach a certain amount of volume because I do train legs twice a week still. And that second workout is only about 3 sleeps away from the next workout. Now, when I put these together, we're going to use today as an example, right? I consider it kind of my heavy hamstring day. So obviously I'm going to front load my hamstring work with something heavy. And in this case, it was the Romanian deadlift. Then I'm going to go on to a leg curl. I didn't do any glute work because I still wanted to save some on Monday, save some volume for Monday because, again, that is when I hit glutes directly. I'm hitting them here, but usually I get on a machine and work them out a little bit harder than what I normally would. Now, when I move on to the leg curl, usually is a seated leg curl. But today I opted for the lying leg curl using a hack that I got from Dr. Mike Israetel of Renaissance Periodization and Dylan McCartney. Shout out to those guys about putting a pad up under my legs to kind of elevate the stretch. So when I was putting this together, I was like, this is a good spot where I can do this exercise and I can do it on this particular day. So we got the lying leg curl already knocked out. What do we have next? We have our quadricep specific stuff. Now, it really doesn't matter on it doesn't really matter how I structure my quadricep work, right? I normally do 3 exercises, no less than, really, unless I'm really, really tired or my quads are still really, really sore. I normally do about 3 quad exercises every leg day. Now, the sets, they kind of vary. So instead of starting off with a leg extension, which is something that I generally save for the middle or the end of the workout, today I started off with leg press. My knees felt decently warm enough where I could do that, especially on this type of machine, the Arsenal Strength leg press. So that's another thing that you need to keep in mind of how your joints are feeling that morning. Again, for those of us in cold climates, what you may want to think of is to kind of start off with bigger bang for your buck exercises, but just do more warm-up sets. Make sure that you emphasize the eccentric even more so in your warm-up sets than you do your work sets, at least in my opinion and from my vantage point as an older lifter. So back to sequencing. So have the hinge movement, have the leg curl out the way. We're starting out with the first movement for quadriceps. Now, some things to keep in mind here besides an enhanced eccentric is how your body is moving throughout that plane of motion, right? So if I feel anything like any type of knee pain, any type of back pain, I will immediately stop the movement. But here, all I'm getting is muscle fatigue, which is a good thing. Also, I'm actively trying to work in a higher rep range in this day for quadriceps, as Monday is the main heavy work. Now, also keep in mind, even though I do 3 exercises, I'm really only doing 2 work sets, and they're not really the failure because the heavy stuff comes on Monday. And seeing that this workout took place on a Friday, I do want to have some recovery take place. So I'm not really going to failure on this. Definitely under repping because I don't want to use a RPE or a RIR signature to it. I'm just basically not going to failure. This one may have been a little bit to failure. As you can see, it moved real slow and I dug in to get another one just because of ego more than anything. But generally, if I do go to failure, I keep it to 1 to 2 sets. So that's something also to keep in mind too, is that in my opinion, quote unquote junk volume has its place, right? I think extra volume gets people in better shape than what they think it does. And sometimes with bodybuilding, you just have to tolerate long smart work, but long work. The intensity will just grind down your joints and all that if you keep it at a high level all of the time. So I make sure to keep in some submax sets when I'm doing a lot of these exercises. So now, why am I doing a hack squat before a leg extension? I want a lot of that pressure at the bottom, right? Essentially the hack squat does kind of give you a good stretch at the bottom of the movement, right? Because of the way the angle is, because of the way your knees should be over your toes. So you're getting a good stretch at the bottom. And notice I'm not doing these reverse banded because I want that pressure at the bottom. So instead of doing these after my leg extensions, I'm able to put maximum power inside the movement as much as I can. And that usually works out in my favor, especially with this machine, because if I do leg extensions before the Cybex hack squat, my knees are absolute trash. So that's where we're at with that. Now moving on, we got a special movement, and it's one that I've been wanting to try out for a little while after seeing it on a couple of Instagrams. It's the Saxon squat. So you can do it as a sissy squat, or you can adjust it to a front squat setting like I'm doing right now. what you do is that you just get up under the bar, you unrack it, and it's like a boxed front squat. Now, what I'm doing is that I'm sitting back, I'm leaning on the box, and I'm exploding up, right? So it takes me a minute to get the movement down. But once I got the movement down and where I exactly wanted to sit on the box, I was able to pop up. Now, this is a good quadricep exercise. This is also a good glute exercise. So if you're sitting back on the box, you're definitely going to get a lot of glute activation. But once you come up, if you keep your feet narrow and don't spread your knees out, it is 100% quadricep. You cannot load this up heavy. This is not something to be done heavy. This is really a finishing movement. Now, as you can get stronger on it, but it's not something that I recommend that you want to max out on. You want to put the pressure on your quads. You want to keep the pressure on your quads. There's also a sissy squat option if you want to do that. And we finish off with leg extensions. So that's just a basic understanding, if you understood any of it, of how I sequence my workouts. So with that being said, I'm going to get out. I'm going to take care of these kids, get them something to eat, and then proceed with the day. So another whiteboard session coming on sequencing and splits that I like. So keep in tune, stay subscribed, and we'll talk to you later. Have a good one.